Hey everybody, it's Kristyn B and Ryan.
What's good?
We're back with another episode. We're still doing the power of now. We are in chapter 5. Today is June 1st, 2020. I cannot believe we are halfway through this year.
Already.
It's been, what'd you say earlier, the fastest, slowest year?
Yeah, it's been like the fastest, slowest year. Because everything seems to be going so slow, but moving fast at the exact same time.
Yeah. And oh man, this year has been something else.
So I guess what's funny is that our word of the year was habits. But now it evolved to wait and see.
Wait, that was our official word for the year?
That's what habits? I thought.
Oh, I think it was.
It was habits.
But I don't even remember, man. Like
it was habits, and then now it's like wait and see. It's a COVID, but yeah.
That and COVID at this point is like on the back burner of everything else. That's going
on people's minds.
But yeah, we're a little behind on episodes. We had planned to do it once a week, and this week has been quite emotional, very emotionally charged, very mentally draining. It's just been a lot. So we apologize. We just getting this now, but you know.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind of a week.
Yeah,
I'd say that.
But we're here now, and we're gonna dive right back into this book.
Get it.
So, as I said, we're doing chapter 5 today, and the title of this chapter is "The State of Presence." And he jumps into this chapter saying that presence is not what you think it is. Your mind could never know what presence is. And right on the last paragraph on 93, which is the first page of chapter 5, he says, try a little experiment. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Then become very alert and wait for the next thought. Be like a cat watching a mouse hole. What thought is going to come out of the mouse hole? Try it now. So Ryan, did you try it?
Nope.
Oh, oh my God. You were supposed to do it.
Nah. I just kept going. I just kept reading.
It was a pause symbol right after that too. So it was supposed to be like pause and do that. I did it.
What did you get out of it?
It actually did take a second for another thought to come.
Oh, so that was like the intent of what he was trying to do, or is just like?
Yeah, it was. Okay, so right on the next page, 94. So the person responded, I had to wait for quite a long time before a thought came in. And Eckhart responds, exactly. As long as you are in a state of intense presence, you are free of thought. You are still yet highly alert. The instant your conscious attention sinks below a certain level, thought rushes in. The mental noise returns. The stillness is lost. You are back in time. So he was trying to demonstrate to you that, like, if you take a moment to become present, and in presence, you're, becoming aware of your mind. And so it's like, you're just watching it. Like, what is the next thought? And you just sit there and you just like, what is the next thought? It took a second for another thought to come. It was very quiet. It was just, yeah.
I didn't try it. I think because I was kind of like trying to get through the chapter. But
yeah. See,
I'll try it. I'll try it this week.
Weren't present reading this book now, were you?
Nah. And what's crazy is that this book it really do make me kind of fall in and out of presence, because like when I read certain parts that I'm like finding like really, really good, it makes me think of like scenarios that I experienced in the past that have been like, see, or it's like kind of a future thing where it's like, I'm saying, see, it's just like, so
mind takes over and you become analytical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of snap out of it sometimes to actually like, and then I got to reread what I just read, because a lot of times I'll just kind of space out as I read, and then I got to go back and read it again.
I mean, sometimes I have to reread something, because I somewhat do the same thing sometimes, where I'm like, okay, wait, no, I gotta go back and read that for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did that. I did do the experiment. I was sitting outside when I did it too, so that was nice. I was just like looking around.
Oh,
and
well, yeah, I need to do that then, because when we was out last time, and I was just looking in the air. I was taking like one of his things that he said later in the chapter, and I was trying to apply that, because he was saying just when you like go outside and just look at something and look at it without the judgment or anything like that. So that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah. I've actually had 3 moments like that this week, which is quite ironic how crazy everything is going. But I did have 3 moments, and the first moment was doing that experiment. The second moment, I was sitting outside when it was the time at night when I decided to sit outside. Yeah. And it was so crazy. Like, I was pretty emotionally charged that day. And I was just sitting out there, and I was just enjoying the weather. Like, the weather was gorgeous. The weather's been gorgeous all weekend. But I was sitting out there, and like cars are going by and everything, but all of a sudden I just started looking at the trees, and the trees got real still. I've never seen trees be this still. Like, I was just looking around, and it was just like a quiet. Everything just seemed like it just froze.
And this was at night?
This was at night, yeah. So that was my experience number 2. Number 3 was when we were outside yesterday. We were outside with our son, and I was running around or whatever, but I was looking at the grass, and I noticed that each blade has a different rhythm. I like, you just see when you see grass moving in the wind, it's just kind of like it just becomes one. Yeah, you kind of see it as a whole. Yeah. No, every blade had a different motion, and I was like, yo. Like, when I snapped out of that moment, I was just like, what did I just see? Like, that's interesting. It was dope. So I've had 3 moments like that. And again, in those moments, I'm not thinking. It's like I'm literally just observing. And then once I come out of that, it lasts for a certain amount of time, and then I come out of that and I think like, dang, that was crazy. So then it's like comes back to my mind again. But yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
well, that's nice. I mean, you had 3 moments of where you were actively practicing presence. I don't know, I think I probably just been doing it without actually realizing it, because like this past week I've been making music like almost every day, which has been great.
Yeah.
So, and in those times it's like I fall in and out, but for the most part I've been pretty focused on that, and it's been really keeping me pretty present, I'll say, in what I was doing. So, yeah. And I mean, like he said, that's a form of presence, like being creative, being that creative vessel that, that gets you into that space. So, yeah, definitely needed the outlet.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so still on 94, just going further down into the page, he talks about what it means to be present, as far as like what Zen masters try to teach. Like he says here on the second full paragraph, Zen masters have been known to creep up on their students from behind and suddenly hit them with the stick. Quite a shock. If the student had been fully present and in a state of alertness. If he had kept his loin girded and his lamp burning, which is one of the analogies that Jesus uses for presence, he would have noticed the master coming up from behind and stopped him or stepped aside. But if he were hit, that would mean he was immersed in thought, which is to say absent, unconscious. To stay present in everyday life, it helps to be deeply rooted within yourself. Otherwise, the mind, which has incredible momentum, will drag you along like a wild river. Excuse me. So then he says later, body awareness keeps you present and it anchors you in the now. So again, going right back to that body presence and body awareness.
So, like, if somebody creep up on you or sneak up on you, that means you're not present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that makes total sense because, all right, y'all. So I'm a huge Ip Man fan. And I'm just thinking of martial artists, right?
Yeah.
And masters, and you know, it's like you're not gonna sneak up on them, especially not while they're fighting. They have to be very.
It's like how I don't know, because I'm wondering, like, how would you know someone is behind you if you're like focused on what's in front of you? Like, it's almost like presence is like in front of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're so aware of your environment and what's surrounding you, and you become connected to everything that is surrounding you. So I think you would know someone's coming up behind you.
So I wonder if it's, I don't know, because I'm just kind of thinking, like, is this something that they hear? Like, are they hearing senses are like heightened because they are fully present? Because that's like the only way I can think of that, like, you can physically know that somebody's coming from behind you without them touching you.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it like, okay, you know how you will be somewhere by yourself, but then you just feel this presence of someone else?
Yeah.
Is it like that?
I think so, yeah.
Huh.
I think you're thinking too deep.
No, because like, I'm wondering.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean too deep. I mean, you're thinking too much with your mind.
Maybe.
But, I mean, I think it is that kind of feeling. Like, where...
I'll be feeling like that, like, especially when I'm in the studio and I'm mixing or something like that. Yeah. And then, like, because I usually had a door kind of... I don't have it completely closed because it locks when you automatically. So I just have it to where it's, like, cracked or something like that, where you can just open it.
Yeah.
And then, like, either dad or somebody come and be there. But I don't know they there. But it's... Sometimes it's like I feel a presence of something else. Like I feel a different energy.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
And I just think you're just not. So if somebody is immersed in their thoughts, like, and I know I'm sure everyone has had this happen before, where they're thinking or they're focused on something else or whatever, and then someone does sneak up behind them and scare them. Like, usually when that happens, you're in your head. And so you're not even thinking about your surroundings or whatever. Like, so you didn't sense that person coming up behind you.
Okay.
Which you do to me a lot.
Yeah.
And I think...
And I don't try to.
I know you don't. But I think that is why, because I'm so immersed in like it's usually when I'm in the kitchen or something. So I could be cooking or whatever, or doing the dishes, and I'm focused on that, but I'm also thinking about 1,000 other things.
Yeah.
And so I don't really hear you coming. Or I'm listening to music or something or whatever, and I'm like, oh, hey, oh snap, like, here you are. When did you get in here?
Yeah. Like, I mean, doing the dishes can get you out of the present.
Which is funny that he mentions that. I think that was in A New Earth, or it was during the podcast episodes for that, for the Super Soul podcast with Oprah, when he was talking about New Earth, chapter by chapter. That was a good thing to listen to too. But he was saying even doing stuff like washing your hands, washing dishes, like that could be an opportunity to become present because you're focusing in on what you're doing. But I think oftentimes we end up using that moment to like think of other stuff, or we're doing one thing and then we're already thinking about the next thing we have to do. That's me.
Yeah.
I have to like check myself a lot with that, because I'll be doing something and I'm like already like, oh, I got to do this. And okay, after I finish this, I'm going to get to that. And then it's just a never ending cycle. But yeah. So anyway, so moving forward, he begins to talk about like analogies in the Bible for waiting. And like, so he's saying the esoteric meaning of waiting, and like what that actually means and what the analogies in the Bible mean and all that. Trying to think where it starts, where he really dives into it. He says in the middle of this first paragraph on 95, there is a qualitatively different kind of waiting, one that requires your total alertness. Something could happen at any moment, and if you are not absolutely awake, absolutely still, you will miss it. This is the kind of waiting Jesus talks about. In that state, all your attention is in the now. There is none left for daydreaming, thinking, remembering, anticipating. There is no tension in it, no fear, just alert presence. You are present with your whole being, with every cell of your body. In that state, the you that has past and a future, the personality, if you like, is hardly there anymore. And yet nothing of value is lost. You are still essentially yourself. In fact, you are more fully yourself than you ever were before, or rather, it is only now that you are truly yourself. So again, just reiterating that, like, that presence is like a form of waiting. Like, that's what I just took it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Because, I mean, I think where he's coming at is that you can't be, it's like the same thing where he's saying like the future, using the future as a means of an out for now.
Yeah.
And that's basically what he's saying is like, don't have the future be your means of an end
mm-hmm.
for the present. Like, just be present. You don't have to. Waiting is just something that you just, it's like a hopeful thing. It's
mm-hmm.
something you're looking for the future. So just be where you at right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your wait. When it happens, it happens.
It happens, yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, for sure. So at the bottom of 95, he starts in that ending paragraph, he's like, he was talking about how this has been misinterpreted often.
Yeah.
So he says, even the men who wrote the Gospels did not understand the meaning of these parables. So the first misinterpretations and distortions crept in as they were written down. With subsequent erroneous interpretations, the real meaning was completely lost. There are parables not about the end of the world, but about the end of psychological time. They point to the transcendence of the egoic mind and the possibility of living in an entirely new state of consciousness. So again, just thinking about like the end of the world and the like, what does that mean and everything, and then it's just like he's saying it's not the end of the world, it's the end of psychological time. And I'm like, yo, that kind of,
I was like, this right here, I think that's it's just because it's like, it's almost like thinking of like Santa Claus Like that's kind of how it seems when like the second coming of Jesus is supposed to be here. Like it's like if he died and rose and all of that, then wouldn't we know exactly when he comes or what? Or it's like, when he been came? Or it's like kind of like that. Like it's just thinking like this physical person is gonna come and save us all, type of thing.
Okay.
Because that's kind of how I took it. Yeah. When people say like the end of the world is coming and Jesus is gonna come and all of that, and it's like,
I mean, that's how I took it.
That's
too,
how I take it. Like it's
yeah.
a person that's gonna come and save us all, and it's like,
well, it's not even like save all. The way I was taught was like Jesus is gonna come, and that's Judgment Day, and so the people that were that lived in his word and in his image are then brought back to life, and then the people that were not, they stay gone. Like, so that's a whole tangent. But
yeah, because I was about to ask some stuff.
That's
because I'm like, I mean, I'm just wondering, like, okay, so the people who died before Jesus got here, are they done? Or is it just based on Judgment Day is when everybody's gone. Like every human is gone.
Okay. All right. So I know there's different interpretations. But this is just based on what one of my grandmas told me.
No, I mean, that's kind of what I'm asking just based on what you got.
She was a Jehovah's Witness back in the day. But she was saying that Judgment Day is, like, so there's going to be mass destruction on Earth. Like, I mean, famine, diseases, all that stuff. Yeah. Fires, all of that, which I'm like, ugh, it's looking bleak. But it's gonna just be all this destruction, and then only so many people are gonna make it through that. There's gonna be some people at the end who are alive, and the rest of people is just all gonna be gone. And then he's gonna come. He's gonna rise up the people that, like I said, follow his word, that live the life that is worthy. Yeah. And then they'll be rebuilt, and then they'll rebuild the earth. And the people who did not stay dead. They gone forever. So, yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, because, I mean, this... No, because it sounds like, okay, you're going to bring all the people that live their life right, according to the word and all that.
Yep.
You're going to bring them back so they can get to work. Like,
you lived your life so well.
Build the world back.
We'll have you build it anew. Yeah. So,
dang.
And that honestly, that scared me as a kid.
And all the evil people, y'all good, chill.
Well, no, it's not chill. It's not chill. You're not chilling.
Oh, they burning. Burn.
No, you dead. Like, it's no hell. No nothing. Like, it's just nothing. I guess that's the hell. Like, you dead. Like, you just black. I don't know. And that I think that's where it came from. Where it's like it just go like. I had such a hard time with that thought because it was just like, so it just goes black? Yeah. Like you just...
I think of that too.
Like you just done?
I still
like,
think of that.
What does that mean?
Like it just...
Yeah.
Boom. Like, and then...
Like that's it.
Boom.
That's the end. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just kind of... I'm wondering, like, okay, for instance, all the people that have lived their life according to the word, and they did not get brought back. could that mean that they were living by a misinterpreted version of the word if it actually means to be present?
Oh my.
And if so, is it the fault of the person or is it the fault of the teacher? And should the teacher take the responsibility and the people that followed that get brought back? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, we going deep.
That's going, yeah, and I don't have an answer for that. But that's a very interesting question, though. If that is what your belief is,
yeah,
what would that mean?
Yeah, like if you believed all of that and it was not the right interpretation.
You could say that you could say that for anything.
True.
Any belief system.
True.
That's out there, like, you know, or even different churches, different Bible versions. Like, there's all kind of ways that things could go wrong. Yeah. Being misinterpreted and all that stuff. So
there's so many variables to where it can just get lost real easy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Man, I feel like that conversation is starting to go left, because now it's like, all right, we getting out of the book now, so let's get back into the book. But those are really interesting thoughts. Hey,
if anybody listening, comment. I don't know. Yeah. What you think?
Okay, so back into the book. So I'm gonna jump over to 97. He is just talking about beauty and like how beauty only comes out of presence. Like, you cannot achieve beauty, you cannot see beauty, you cannot create beauty without being present and being aware. And I just thought that was interesting. He says in that first full paragraph, he's like, mind can neither recognize nor create beauty. Only for a few seconds while you are completely present was that beauty or that sacredness there. Because of the narrowness of that gap and a lack of vigilance and alertness on your part, you are probably unable to see the fundamental difference between the perception, the thoughtless awareness of beauty, and the naming and interpreting of it as thought. The time gap was so small that it seemed to be a single process. The truth is, however, that the moment thought came in, all you had was a memory of it. So it's like you can only perceive beauty in a moment of presence. As soon as you get out of that moment, it's gone. It's just a memory. Which I'm like, yo, that's
crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it like that.
But it makes sense. If you can't, if you need to be present and aware and in the space of now to create, and that's where the creation comes from, then it makes sense that only presence can recognize that. Because the mind can't recognize.
That's true. I mean, yeah. It's almost like thinking of, you can only see how good this painting looks when you're actually in the room looking at it versus seeing a picture posted on Facebook or posted online of it. Like, you see every detail, you see all the strokes, the detail of it when you are in front of it versus seeing it on a screen. That's kind of how I see it. Like, because you are not looking at it with your own eyes. You're looking at it from the interpretation of the camera, and then the lighting, and then how that picture was created on that screen, and then from that screen sent to the internet. And then it's the internet's interpretation of how that picture looks when it's presented to you through your computer or it's like so many so many layers. So it is a memory at that point.
Yeah.
I know I'm going real deep.
Yeah. I was with you at first. I think the memory, but I think whether you see it online or you see it in person, I think the effect is the same thing. Like, you won't recognize the beauty of it unless you're fully present. It really doesn't matter about the form that it comes in.
No, I mean, it's not.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, because it's not necessarily like not verbatim, but it's just more like, that's the analogy that I got from it. Is like, you won't see the true quality or whatever that you're looking for unless you see it in person, versus you see somebody holding a camera up to it,
right,
and taking a picture of it, and seeing it online. So
you're saying that's like the mind seeing something versus your inner self seeing something. I get it. Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's a good analogy.
It just made me think about like OLED TVs and stuff like that. You can't.
Of course, you're thinking about OLED TVs.
You can't fully see how good this look until you there.
Lord. Yeah. So off the OLED TVs, y'all. He is obsessed. He wants one so bad. But all right. So going on to page 98. Just kind of jumping around here, but in the section realizing pure consciousness. So the person asked, is presence, I'm gonna say the audience, I'd be saying the person, the audience asked, is presence the same as being? And he says, his response is, when you become conscious of being, what is really happening is that being becomes conscious of itself. When being becomes conscious of itself, that's presence. Since being, consciousness, and life are synonymous, we could say that presence means consciousness becoming conscious of itself, or life attaining self-consciousness. Anyway, he says, but don't get attached to the words and don't make an effort to understand this. There is nothing that you need to understand before you can become present. Because, Lord, with all them consciousness and conscious and conscious and I'm like, what?
So don't if you're gonna use this as a drinking game, drink water. You'll get plenty of water.
Yeah. So it's just interesting how that paragraph is set up. It's almost like not meant to confuse you necessarily, but he's saying, like, again, your mind cannot understand this.
That's what I was thinking,
that was the point.
Like, you're gonna send your mind for a loop.
Yeah, which as you're reading it and listening to it now, your mind is probably like, huh? What?
Yeah.
Conscious? Wait, who?
Pretty much.
It's like, again, he says, but don't get attached to the words and don't make an effort to understand this. There is nothing that you need to understand before you can become present. And that was the whole point, I felt like, of that paragraph.
You know what? I got another visual analogy for this, actually.
Of course you do, Mr. Analogy Man.
Now, it's like if you hold a mirror up, as you're looking in the mirror, and then he's basically saying the conscious, like you, the life conscious, is the reflection way in there, like way in there where you can't really perceive it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like that. It's like kind of I can't remember what they say when like the mirror kind of. But yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it.
That's how your mind sees it?
Yeah. Okay. That's how my mind sees it. So hopefully I painted a picture for all the other minds.
Lord. Okay, so hopping around again. So on 99, so I'm gonna go back actually. So on the bottom of 98, the audience asked, I do understand what you just said, but it seems to imply that being the ultimate transcendental reality is not yet complete, that it is undergoing a process of development. Does God need time for personal growth? Which I thought was such an interesting question, because I was like, God is out of the realm of time, but so it was interesting. But anyway, so Eckhart's answer, what?
Question.
Yes.
Because that was a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure it's probably gonna answer it, but our growth as people, is just to be more present. Is that like the end goal?
I believe so.
So our personal development is only just to be present.
Yeah.
Simple enough.
And be aware. Yeah, I think so.
So people, there it is.
Yeah. Like that's the ultimate life, not goal. That's not what I want to say. Ultimate
Purpose.
life purpose. Thank you. Purpose and your journey. That's what it's about. So, Eckhart's answer to that was yes, but only as seen from the limited perspective of the manifested universe. In the Bible, God declares, I am the Alpha and the Omega, and I am the living one. In the timeless realm where God dwells, which is also your home, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega are one, and the essence of everything that ever has been and ever will be is eternally present in an unmanifested state of oneness and perfection, totally beyond anything the human mind can ever imagine or comprehend. Now listen, that part right there, I literally just wrote in the margins, I just put yo. because it's interesting. It kind of goes back to death again. For me, that's where my mind went, right? Because I was like, okay, when people pass away and they say the Lord called them home, they went home. And I was like, so when I read that and he said in the timeless realm where God dwells, which is also your home, it's like, so then what? So it makes it puts a different perspective on death, especially because earlier he just said that it's not the end, like the end of the world is the end of psychological time. So the end of you, the end of your ego, the end of your personality is the end of time, psychological time. But then you enter a realm that your mind can't even comprehend. And that's why it's so scared to die.
Yes.
That's why your ego is so scared to die, because it doesn't understand.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yo, I ain't even. Yeah. Mine is like kaboom over here.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, so your home is the timeless state. And I think when you connect with that presence, you connect with that awareness in your body and in your earth life,
earth form.
Yeah. Then that's your connection to God. Because every time you go into that space of timelessness and presence, you are connecting yourself to God.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I took from that section. I was like, yo, that is deep. I'm
glad you was able to clear that up for me, because I was confused on that. I was like, what? Like, because, I mean, my mind is trying to interpret it. So I guess that's where it
because your mind can't comprehend that.
Like saying the Alpha, the Omega, and all of that, and it's like beginning and end, and then so we in the middle somewhere. Nah, like we all of that.
Yeah,
we so all of that is nothing. Like that's
which is like the mind is like, huh? Like what? Like you, like it can't. I think that's a lot of where because like, okay, so going back to earlier chapters when he discusses that the ego fears it being found out and it fears death. Ultimately, all the egoic fears are all pertaining to death because it doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
And it doesn't want to die because it can't comprehend a space without time.
Right.
It has to be attached to that time. Like that's what makes it function. It makes it alive. So it's like the as he said, I think, yeah, in an earlier chapter, he said the ultimate goal, in so many words, when he was saying the ultimate goal of life and purpose of life is to die before you die. And I think that's what he means. To experience that on earth.
So presence is essentially death.
Yeah.
Of the ego.
Yeah. You're stripping away the ego. Every time you go more and more present and become more and more aware, it's stripping of the ego. The ego can't function in a space of no time.
Yeah.
It can't function in presence.
Man. So
it's death.
Man. I don't know what to say. Jeez. This is crazy.
Yeah. And then so even further down on that page, still on 99, so the second full paragraph, he's like, everything that exists has being, has God essence, has some degree of consciousness. Even a stone has rudimentary, good Lord, consciousness. Otherwise, it would not be, and its atoms and molecules could disperse. Everything is alive. The sun, the earth, plants, animals, humans, all are expressions of consciousness in varying degrees, consciousness manifesting as form. So again, it goes back to like we are all consciousness. And it's just all about expressing itself in a different form. Yeah. But we're all one and the same.
Huh. Because, I mean, it really makes some sense when you tie in science and with this, like, because apparently, like, science, like, everything with mass has atoms, which is energy. They all vibrate. It's just some vibrate slower, others vibrate faster. And usually I think the more dense is the fastest. So it's like a stone still vibrates. That's the source of energy still.
Right.
Which is, I'm guessing, is consciousness. Which makes sense to have this in the book.
Okay. Yeah, and the fact that so we're all, when he says we all have God essence, and everything is alive, and it's just all varying forms and manifesting in different ways. And it's like energy, like you're saying about energy doesn't die.
Right.
It
transfers.
Yeah, it transfers. So if we are a part of that system, then our death, I don't think, is what we think it is.
Because we can't think.
We can't ever think. We can't fathom like what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it scary.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, I mean, for the ego freaks out, like I just said.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah.
Yeah. Egoic Ryan be like, yo, is it gonna be dark?
Yeah. Like it's just nothing. Like the end of me is
gone.
Nothing.
End of time, nothing. Just boom. Over. What I'm gonna do there?
Yeah. So even going into that further, so at the very end of 99, he starts, this is what the ancient seers of India asked themselves. They saw the world as Lila, it might be Leela, a kind of divine game that God is playing. The individual life forms are obviously not very important in this game. In the sea, most life forms don't survive for more than a few minutes after being born. The human form turns to dust pretty quickly too, and when it is gone, it is as if it had never been. Is that tragic or cruel? Only if you create a separate identity for each form. If you forget that its consciousness is God essence expressing itself in form, or I said that like those, but you don't truly know that until you realize your own God essence as pure consciousness. So it's like, again, it's like so forms on earth dying. And he's saying it's only cruel or tragic if you put a separate identity to each thing. So, because again, we're all God essence, we're all this consciousness. So when our form dies, the essence is still there. The consciousness is still there.
It just went somewhere else, basically, or
yeah, it's still there.
Oh no. So my question is, okay, so say for instance, a bird dies, and that consciousness, or that the animated energy force, or left the body. Now, according to what he was saying, a rock has consciousness too.
Yeah.
Does that dead carcass still have consciousness? Because it's still mass, it still has some vibrations, but it's just a lot slower. Or see what I mean?
Yeah. Or does the consciousness leave, or that energy leave the body entirely?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because if it's like that, if the consciousness leaves the body,
yeah,
then how long do it take for the rock consciousness to leave its body?
I don't know. How long does it take for a rock to dissipate?
I don't know.
Well, I think that would be the answer. I think when, like, at least for humans and animals, like when, I don't think it's an instantaneous thing of like consciousness just shoots out. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. I think there's some energy still. It just kind of fades out, like as the body dies and begins decomposing or whatever, because it's not alive anymore. Like, so I don't know. I don't want to get too morbid about it, but yeah. It's interesting. So I'm gonna jump over to 101. What did I want to say about this part?
Well, before we go to there, because it was something on 100 that I highlighted, which is pretty compelling. Was it the last paragraph, the top of the last paragraph? Consciousness takes on the disguise of forms until they reach such complexity that it completely loses itself in them. In present day humans, consciousness is completely identified with its disguise. It only knows itself as form and therefore lives in fear of the annihilation of its physical and psychological form. So
further, this is the egoic mind, and this is where considerable dysfunction sets in. So I just wanted to finish that.
Yeah. So it's interesting that, like, the insanity of people, because we got so identified with our person that is hard to even think that it's something different.
And I think now and that actually kind of takes me back to the Bible as well. I'm not fluent in the Bible, so but when he speaks about like the sin of becoming like falling to the temptations of the flesh.
Yeah.
And I think that's partly what he's talking about.
Like just being identified with the person.
Yeah, you're so identified with your body. Like, not in an awareness sense, but you think this is you. And so you fall into that trap of becoming so identified, so immersed with everything that your body in your mind, which is a part of your body.
Yeah.
Is that you just become so immersed in it that now you've lost the connection to your true you. Yeah. And your true inner self.
Because you disconnected with God.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what I think.
So I'm just thinking like, so all of the animals, they are fully present. They are completely connected with God. It's just us humans.
I think you could argue that, because that's what sets us apart from other animals, is that we have, our brain functions much differently. Animals are instinctual. They're on the, I don't want to say basic level, but meaning like it's just instincts, and they're just living in the now.
It's just
like
here now.
Exactly what Eckhart said before. Like, you ask an animal what time is it, they're gonna say now. What other time is it?
Right.
So
yeah.
they don't have that ego. From what we know, they don't have that ego creating chaos in their head. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what other word to say besides interesting.
Yeah. So on one-on-one, what I was gonna say, so on this second paragraph, he's like, can you now see the deeper and wider significance of becoming present as the watcher of your mind? Whenever you watch the mind, you withdraw a consciousness from mind forms, and it then becomes what we call the watcher or the witness. Consequently, the watcher, pure consciousness beyond form, becomes stronger, and the mental formations become weaker. When we talk about watching the mind, we are personalizing an event that is truly of cosmic significance. Through you, consciousness is awakening out of its dream of identification with form and withdrawing from form. This foreshadows, but is already part of, an event that is probably still in the distant future as far as chronological time is concerned. The event is called the end of the world. And again, it's like, so in the margins, I was like, whoa. I was like, what does that mean? What does that look like? My mind can never comprehend. It feels like darkness, blank. And so literally, that's how my mind reacts to that.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you say the end of the world, it's like, oh,
kaboom.
It's like everybody's dying. Everything is just like, it's just crazy. And then you just go blank. Like, so, but that's interesting that the mind thinks of like this impending doomsday, and like everything is just gonna just go to crap, and it's just gonna be destruction and stuff. In which I think yeah, but I don't think the end is, that's not the end. The end is reaching a point, like he's saying, of like you're gonna. So going back to what he said earlier, it's the end of psychological time. It's the end of attachment to time. Like,
I think like all of the egos is gonna be so riled up about protecting their status that they all clash, fight, and destruction is gonna happen. That's the
Yeah.
destruction. They're gonna destroy themselves, and then what's left is
I mean,
the presence and the consciousness, and yeah.
he
that.
says it right on page 102, right at the top. Oh goodness, excuse me. If they do not free themselves from their mind in time, they will be destroyed by it. They will experience increasing confusion, conflict, violence, illness, despair, madness. Egoic mind has become like a sinking ship. If you don't get off, you will go down with it. The collective egoic mind is the most dangerously insane and destructive entity ever to inhabit this planet. What do you think will happen on this planet if human consciousness remains unchanged? And you see it.
Yep.
I'm just saying, you
That's probably
see
the loudest
it.
yup the whole time, but yeah.
You can see this happening.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
And I boxed this whole page.
I almost boxed the entire page. Because I boxed that section and then I boxed the next paragraph.
Yeah, I'm like, dang, I gotta box this too.
Yeah.
I just boxed it.
So what stood out from that next section then for you?
I gotta kind of look through it because
Oh my lord!
I boxed the whole thing, so I don't.
Okay,
remember.
so in that paragraph, that full paragraph on 102, I'm just gonna read it because
All right.
he says, already for most humans, the only respite they find from their own minds is to occasionally revert to a level of consciousness below thought. Everyone does that every night during sleep, but this also happens to some extent through sex, alcohol, and other drugs that suppress excessive mind activity. If it weren't for alcohol, tranquilizers, antidepressants, as well as the illegal drugs, which are all consumed in vast quantities, the insanity of the human mind would become even more glaringly obvious than it is already. I believe that if deprived of their drugs, a large part of the population would become a danger to themselves and others. These drugs, of course, simply keep you stuck in dysfunction. Their widespread use only delays the breakdown of the old mind structures and the emergence of higher consciousness. While individual users may get some relief from the daily torture inflicted on them by their minds, they are prevented from generating enough conscious presence to rise above thought and so find true liberation.
There it is in a nutshell.
Yep. I mean, what else is there to say?
We really just said the same thing at the same time. I think that was presence right there. It's insane to think that like the drug usage and all that is really used to just delay the destruction. It's almost like thank you for the drugs.
Oh my lord. Even though it's a delay. Like
Yes,
it's delaying the people who are
basically
using. And I feel like we all have some kind of form of this. Like
Yeah.
whatever it is that you use, whatever your
our
vice is.
Yeah.
Okay, now. Jinx, man. So yeah, whatever that is, all it's doing is prolonging the process to get you to a higher level of consciousness. So it's like, even though it temporarily eases,
Yeah.
it's still destroying you.
Because it's keeping you there.
Yeah, it's keeping you there. It's keeping you on that level. And it's like you have to constantly feed that to just stay at that level.
Yeah, I guess I can be a testament to that. Oh, I guess I need to elaborate.
You talking? Okay.
Yeah, with my alcohol usage. Since I've stopped drinking, I've been a lot more into this type of like books and stuff. Like I've been a lot more into it. So it really helped change my mind about a lot of stuff. And I don't know if a mind under the influence would be able to accept it.
Or grasp it.
That too.
And
Grasp it. It just made me think of Patrick.
oh my God. Grasp it firmly. Patrick SpongeBob. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna move on. So it's 103. The first full paragraph. He says, there is nothing personal in this. I am not teaching you. You are consciousness and you are listening to yourself. There is an Eastern saying, the teacher and the taught together create the teaching. In any case, the words in themselves are not important. They are not the truth. They only point to it. I speak from presence, and as I speak, you may be able to join me in that state. Although every word that I use has a history, of course, and comes from the past, as all language does, the words that I speak to you now are carriers of the high energy frequency of presence, quite apart from the meaning they convey as words. And I was like, yo. It's like he is basically saying, I'm reflecting consciousness back to you in your consciousness. You know all of this truth already.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
It's like, not do as I say, but do as I do.
It's more like I'm not teaching you something you don't already know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know this,
and you know this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So moving on.
Yeah,
we got a few more pages left, so let's just.
Yeah, we don't want to keep y'all.
Yeah.
Too long like last time.
So was there anything, I mean, for you, was there anything on the last few pages that really stood out to you?
Between 104 and 106?
Yeah. I mean, I have some stuff, but
I got one on 105.
Okay.
So the second paragraph on 105.
I have that highlighted too.
Yeah, the second coming of Christ is a transformation of human consciousness, a shift from time to presence, from thinking to pure consciousness, not the arrival of some man or woman. If Christ were to return tomorrow in some externalized form, what could he or she possibly say to you other than this? I am the truth. I am divine presence. I am eternal life. I am within you. I am here. I am now.
And there you go.
Boom.
That's what we were talking about earlier, and that you brought up.
Full circle, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I have at the bottom of 105 this last paragraph. If you are drawn to an enlightened teacher, it is because there is already enough presence in you to recognize presence in another. There were many people who did not recognize Jesus or the Buddha, as there are and always have been many people who are drawn to false teachers. Egos are drawn to bigger egos. Darkness cannot recognize light. Only light can recognize light. So don't believe that the light is outside you or that it can only come through one particular form. I thought that was important. For sure.
What did you get from it?
Because I feel like somebody who is not present in any shape or form, like they're in the unconscious state.
Yeah.
Especially if they're deeply unconscious.
Yeah.
They're not going to seek people that are going to bring them to a higher consciousness. What they're going to seek is somebody who feeds their ego.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
And that's a lot of times, I think that's why people get so trapped in the cycle, because they meet these people or they follow these people or become friends with people who end up just feeding that same cycle of misery for them.
Right.
And so I think when you're open and you come to a place of awareness or some form of presence, even if it's not a lengthy amount of time that you experienced it, but you know that there's some truth here and all that stuff, you're going to seek other people that understand that.
I guess it's like what a lot of people say, like, be around the people that you want to become.
Yeah. like that.
So that's for either deeper in the unconscious or more in the conscious, I guess.
Yeah. And even so, someone who's not open to this, I don't think would even pick up this book.
No.
Or they would read it and like, huh?
Yeah.
Nah. Next.
Huh? Yeah. No.
Or listen to our podcast talking about it and like, oh no. Like, I don't know what they talking about.
Yeah, they talking nonsense.
They talking some other stuff. Like, what? So
well, I guess they won't hear this part.
Right. But yeah, so in that, yeah, like we said, many people who are drawn to false teachers, it's like you're gonna fall into that trap of following somebody who's speaking the language of the ego, not someone who's speaking the language of presence, because you're not there.
And then that question that I brought earlier, because this will be the one that applies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like how would you know that the interpretations of the Bible or whatever you believe in is the real interpretation, or like kind of it's like the actual the interpretation to point you in the direction that is the right direction?
I think if you're present, you'll know.
I guess, yeah. I mean, you know what? You're right. Because when we go to church, it's different.
Okay. Where are you going with this?
Like, no, because like listening to a sermon now versus
I see what
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Totally different sermons.
Oh, absolutely.
So I understand now.
Yeah. I definitely understand the teachings a lot more. And I pull from it what I need from it and what resonates with me. And then if something doesn't ring true, then I'm just leave it where it's at. But that's true, because that has really transformed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense. Okay.
And it is interesting that some teachings, especially like growing up, the things I've heard and all that, it's like a lot of it is fear-based. It's fear-based teaching.
Yeah.
Like, don't do this because you're going to hell.
Yeah, basically.
Like, pretty much, like, you're going to hell. And yeah, like, you have to act this way or be in this kind of mold or this form or whatever, listen to this person. And yeah, it's a lot of that. So I guess you could question, or like, is that the ego talking? I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but
we'll leave it right here.
Yeah. But yeah. So this was. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have anything else on like 106 or anything?
Nah,
at the end?
I'm cool.
Yeah.
I think we good.
But this chapter was fairly short. But yeah, it was still an impactful chapter, clearly.
Yeah, you know what? And there's a lot more in there than I thought.
Yeah, originally.
Because before we started, like, I'm just thinking, like, dang, what are we gonna talk about? This might be a short one.
Yeah, and then here we are.
10 minutes later. 10 minutes after.
Yeah, of course. So if you are following along with us, we really want to thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. For sure.
If you are reading the book, that's great. If you're not and you're still just rocking with us, that's cool too. But we highly suggest you get the book.
Yeah, pick it up.
Let's see. All of our information, social media information is in our description box, so you can find us there. The music.
Oh, yeah. So the music that you are listening to, It's made by me. So if anyone is interested in having music for their podcast or video, or even if you are a recording artist and you want to have some music for an album or whatnot, definitely hit me up on my social media, or you can check out tracksinfinite.com for anything that's available there.
Yep, absolutely. Guys, it's been real. It's been quite a week. I just want to send love to all you. Want to say take care of yourselves as much as you can. Do whatever you got to do to keep your mental, emotional, physical self feeling good. Just take care of yourselves. So
read the book. If you have it, hopefully this is helping.
Yeah.
And be present.
Yes, absolutely.
And be clean, because COVID is still out here.
Oh God, yeah, it is, y'all. Keep washing them hands and stuff.
COVID out
always,
here.
Yeah.
Doing COVID the Birdman hand rub, seeing all the stuff that's going on
out there. And they talking about Ebola coming back in the Congo. I mean, 2020. Yo, man. I need you to chill for just a second. Just a second. Just take a breather, 2020. It's too much.
I wonder if 2020 was the year 2000. I wonder if it'd have been crazy. Like, cause if it was a time for Y2K,
yeah,
to look crazy, this is it.
This is it. It's like, psych, you thought Y2K, it was a 20-year pause, and then it was like, okay, continue. Like
Y2K20. Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyway, we're gonna let y'all go.
We out of here.
We out. See y'all next week.
Peace, y'all.